European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has decided to skip a state visit to China, choosing not to attend at a time when Europe is also pushing hard on Ukraine peace diplomacy. This development was reported on November 28 by the South China Morning Post, which highlighted her absence amid renewed efforts to coordinate Western positions on the Russia-Ukraine war. According to the report, the EU chief will not be joining French President Emmanuel Macron on his China tour next week, breaking with a recent pattern of joint appearances. Macron has, in recent years, brought close European allies into his meetings with Chinese President Xi Jinping in an effort to Europeanize France's dealings and present a united EU front. For 2 consecutive years, von der Leyen joined Macron for meetings with Xi, once in Paris and once in Beijing, underlining how central she had become to the EU's China outreach. Her decision to stay away now means it will be a rare occasion when an EU Commission President does not participate in a major China summit, and it is already being interpreted as a significant diplomatic snub. For Macron's upcoming China tour, there will be no other European leader present, leaving him as the sole top-level representative from the EU side. Instead, Emmanuel Macron will reportedly hold a strictly bilateral meeting with Xi Jinping, even though the discussions are expected to touch on broader EU-China relations as well. Sources quoted in the press say Macron will handle the summit with Xi himself and then report back to Brussels, updating von der Leyen and other EU leaders on the outcome. Von der Leyen has been one of the firmest critics of Beijing inside the EU, repeatedly lobbying for Europe to reduce its economic dependencies on China and pursue a de-risking strategy. Relations between Ursula von der Leyen and Xi Jinping took a sharp downturn after their tense bilateral meeting in July 2025, which exposed deep disagreements over trade and geopolitics. During that July summit, she said that ties with China were at an inflection point, suggesting that the relationship had reached a turning moment that would shape future cooperation. "Our cooperation has deepened, but so have our imbalances," von der Leyen warned at the time, pointing to trade gaps and strategic vulnerabilities that she believes Europe must address. In response, she publicly pushed back and urged von der Leyen to properly handle differences, signaling Beijing's irritation with her tougher line and repeated criticisms. Von der Leyen had also accused Xi of effectively supporting Russia's war against Ukraine, arguing that Chinese economic and political backing was helping Moscow sustain its campaign. Adding to the sour tone, reports from that summit said Ursula and her team were shuttled around by bus with minimal ceremony and few courtesies, a protocol downgrade that many saw as a deliberate slight. Meanwhile, French President Macron has continued to seek ways to boost France's bilateral ties with China, balancing criticism with outreach and economic engagement. Macron hosted Xi Jinping in France in May 2024 and had earlier visited Xi's childhood home in China's Guangdong province in 2023, gestures aimed at building a more personal rapport. The two leaders are expected to discuss the contentious Russia-Ukraine war during their upcoming summit, with Paris hoping to nudge Beijing toward a more constructive role. China's foreign minister has said he wants Macron to encourage the European Union to pursue what Beijing calls a more positive and rational policy toward China, and to help steer EU-China relations back onto a friendlier track.